it's our Edelman's commitment to give back. And we are doing this at Stanford partly because Martha and I talked at the last one we did, and she said, you know, a lot of the revolution is happening here, and you ought to not just do it on the East Coast or the Midwest. And I said, well, you're on. So here we are.
Well, we have about 18,000 students total, so, you know, it's a big campus, and there's about an acre or so per student. But it's a small university.
The decline in vertical publications, and maybe overall that media relations may not be as important anymore compared to some of the other types of activities.
This is actually the core of innovation, right? Is that, you know, if you mix the best of both worlds there, you actually get strong innovation that has market value.
Anybody can tweet, anybody can Facebook, anybody can blog. I'm proof of that because I do all three. Not so many think strategically and communicate effectively, and basically that's what's going to make them successful.
You told me you're not a political guy.
I'm not a member of Occupy Wall Street. However, you can't disrespect any of them. And Mayor Bloomberg, of course, tried to shoo them away. And I have nothing against the mayor. I've met him. He's been very nice to me. But however, the First Amendment rights, to me, were far more important. And what these people were doing, I thought, was American at its core. And so I rooted for them every step of the way. And I would tell a lot of my friends who were Wall Street guys, they were besmirching them, whatever. And I'd say, no, you got it all wrong. These kids are basically doing what you're supposed to do.
The major complaint of the Occupy movement was that you were doing what the traditional journalists were not doing. They were, and because of the system, they have to, we're going to do 5 stories a day, we're going to do 15 minutes on Wall Street, then we're going to go uptown and cover this, and we're going to cover that, and it doesn't do anybody justice. But on the other hand, they could not turn out a product if they spent 3 weeks, 3 months covering a single story.
They would have to do the same thing from that park in the rain and the snow. Bang it out, and get the story out. So they understood a deadline. They were on a deadline.
Like a master class.
Yeah, it was like a master class in media. They were on a deadline, bang it out, and get the story.
At our strategy committee meeting 10 days ago in Silicon Valley, Ann Lunas, who's the CMO of Adobe, said the following: public relations is the #1 driver of revenue for Adobe. Articles prompt visits to search, prompt visits to website, prompt orders. PR is the most efficient and best way to immediate awareness. That's the first time I've ever heard that from any client. And I was at Adobe yesterday afternoon, and I asked the same question just to make sure that she wasn't medicated. So, in fact, by a 4-to-1 margin over advertising, PR was more effective. 4-to-1. Take that home to your students. Now, today, it's digital, global, and far more expansive. The media news cycle is real-time. At the center is no longer impressions. It is now that which circulates story in the cloverleaf. It is content, and it is search. We are now in an era of 4 screens: TV, PC, cell phone, and tablet. New social giants are emerging, and they're doing it differently. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are the juggernauts, but new players, Pinterest, Instagram, Tumblr, are growing rapidly.
I think the top 3 social networking sites have taken like 90% of their time. I'm sure that they use most of it for, real productive purposes. Some of it, maybe not. But at the end of the day, I think that social media has become a critical tool for journalists across the board.
So I talked about circles. What if you could share the right content with the right people? You might get a question from your mom. How was your trip? You say it was all right. I ate at these places and I had some good food. The guys ask you, how was your trip? And you're like, oh man, I got hammered. Your mom. Larry Page comes and asks you, and you're like, the presentation was very good. So we want to be able to have that kind of interaction when you're on the circles and say the right things to the right people.
So this is now the core of my thing. So basically the reason I'm here at all.
I think people think about now a little bit too much. And what we mean by that is thinking about what is the new app or the new website I'm going to integrate with. what is this new shiny piece of technology? And this could be a miss simply because technology changes very, very fast, right? I think that's the point of, obviously, this summit here.
Obviously, we could not have success with YouTube if we didn't honor those copyrights. We put a lot of protection not only in our video streaming capabilities. Hangouts are automatically going to detect if somebody is playing music in the background, for instance, and it will be stopped. In terms of books, I know there's been a lot of people covering that before, previously in this room and otherwise. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, I do have some bias because I work here. But I think Google has a long history of protecting copyright and working with those owners to do the right thing.
Sociology and technology are colliding, enabling us to identify different kinds of influential people. You've got the people who start ideas, like Richard Edelman, a great person who thinks about these other ideas that other people then take and talk about as well. But Richard may only do about 1 or 2 tweets. He's not someone who engages regularly on Twitter. But he is someone who's influential. And then you've got people like Steve Rubell, thousands of followers on Twitter, and he's got his own problems in that he's trying to keep his audience happy. He's like journalists. Why we do press releases? Because it's easy for them to repost and reproduce information. They don't necessarily have the time to get into depth through all that information. So there you've got 2 kinds of influential people, idea starters and amplifiers, who are both important. But what we find is that we need to engage with them differently. With idea starters, I'd get involved in an argument with Richard, like a discussion. With amplifiers, I give them pre-packaged content that they can easily reproduce. What we find is that these same idea starters amplifiers, they take part early in the conversation, but don't necessarily continue it. And this is why we have the third type, the curators. And you can see these people together who link conversations together. These are the niche experts. These are the people who people come to for advice on a specific area. They may not have millions of followers, but they are known within this area, and we seek those people for advice. With these people, I get involved in the conversation as well. And then you've got other people as well. You've got commentators and viewers. But I don't necessarily engage with those people. I use tweet level to help me identify what kind of person someone is based on this theory. But what I'm trying to say is that we need to engage with the right people in the right manner, at the right time, depending on their behavioural characteristics.
Not corporate. You will not see Qualcomm messages on that platform. We're mostly curating. We've hired journalists on staff. We've hired new media people that really know how to do this.
My head was sitting there spinning. I'm sure that some of your heads were spinning as well. So there's all this content, and there's, quite frankly, there's not enough time.
Really?
Too much content, not enough time. And that means there's going to be a huge role for curators. And maybe also for aggregators.
But with the internet, and we believe with YouTube and other companies, it's maybe no longer the Food Network. What about that vegan cooking channel?
The consumer economy ended in November 2008 with the market crash. And of course that was a market crash, but it was also an indicator that an economy fueled merely by desire of people acquiring and possessing things had come to a crashing and dramatic halt. We're in a new economy. And this new economy is wrapped around personal media in exactly the same way the consumer economy was wrapped around the mass media of television. Creators is a rebalancing of the old consumer. A creator is someone who in the ordinary course of their day engages in an economic transaction that they may think they're consuming something, but in fact they're creating something. Or vice versa, or doing both in the same act. Sounds kind of strange, but that's the essence of social media. And what we have done is we've created new platforms that allow people to shift from passive watching of the consumer economy to deep engagement in the creator economy. This is what marketing and public relations looks like in an age of the creator economy, where you enable people who are passionate to steal your brand in the right way, to extend it.
The amplifiers take this information and spread it out to their huge audiences. And it's these curators who get involved later on who continue the flow of the conversation. Now, if I wanted to take away anything after today, it's using the language of idea starters, amplifiers, curators, And the fourth and fifth type were commentators and viewers. All these people are influential, but I want to spend my time engaging with the people who matter most, the idea starters, amplifiers and curators. And these are the people who enable conversations to flow. So how do I engage with idea starters? I get involved in the discussion. I talk about their idea, I collaborate on it, I evangelize on it. How do I engage with amplifiers? I give them prepackaged information that's easy for them to repost or reproduce or retweet. But these people, as we can see from this diagram, often don't take part in the conversation after it started. They're on to their next thing. It's these niche experts, these curators, that maintain the flow of conversation. And this has been one of my big learnings.
And you see an overwhelming number of folks, 20% right now, who are actually listening to radio on their handset while they're at work. I mean, I believe privacy's dead as we ever thought that it was alive. You know, is this something? I mean, Jason, when I see your screens, this makes me think that if I'm using Foursquare to check into the venue, heck, I want to put a picture up there because I want to see it up on the screen. Yeah. Especially if it's in Times Square and I've got 20 of my buddies with me. You know, I mean, it just seems like you called it gamifying, I think, earlier, or making a game out of it. What, from a public relations standpoint, and or a marketer standpoint, what is it where is the line of responsibility in terms of the way we use data that we're able to get on folks? And that's not just their profile information, but now we can actually track them from the mailbox to the store to a friend's house. Where do we draw the line in terms of privacy? And or is it something that there is going to be no end? Is it really truly dead?
I mean, I think it's important to do things that are engaging, not just creepy. You know, you want to create experiences that people enjoy and that they're glad that you were using their profile and interacting with them. Right? To deliver a gift or to come to a hotel room and give you a cheese plate, that's fantastic. And if you're in Times Square, to be able to see the Instagram photo that you took up on the screen, which you posted publicly, nobody complained about that. Everybody was like, oh my God, and then they took pictures of their picture on the screen and then pictures of the picture of their picture. Like, they love it. And that's, I think it's important to deliver those kind of experiences. And also to be transparent about what you're doing. You know, if you're going to put filters in place to filter out mentions of competitors or other things, or you're going to blacklist people, and then you're going to say, this is everything everyone is saying, look how positive all of the conversation is about whatever brand, people are going to view that as disingenuous because they're going to see that what you're doing and what you're saying are different. But if you say, you know, look at these advocates that are, you know, talking about how much they love this thing, like the love of McDonald's French fries, and you're going to create a page that's all about that, people aren't going to expect you to put all this stuff where people are bashing McDonald's on that. They're going to expect to see a page that's about the love of McDonald's French fries, and they're going to find that fun.